Welcome to This Week in Tiger Athletics. I'm your host, Haley White, and with me now is Wyatt Parker. He is a senior defensive lineman for Fort Hays State. He's from Blue Springs, Missouri, and last week, FHSU beat Washburn 30-24. He had 7 total tackles, including 2 solos, 3 tackles for loss, an interception, a forced fumble, and 1.5 sacks. He was just named the MIAA Defensive Player of the Week. So first off, congrats on your win Saturday. How big was it to get back on the winning track after that loss a couple weeks ago?
You know, anytime that we get a big win at home, it always gives us momentum. It just feels good, you know, to be right back on track, momentum rolling into next week.
How focused were you guys during the week leading up to the Washburn game?
Since I've been here, leading up to the Washburn game was one of the most focused weeks I've ever been a part of, you know, because that loss 2 weeks ago just made us so hungry. And this made us really just thirsty for a win.
One of the strong suits so far for this year for the team has been defense. How important is it for you guys to get set the tone early during the game?
That's always our emphasis, is just show them how physical we are. You know, coach has hit them in the mouth so they know who we are, you know, and how we play football.
You guys lost a third-round NFL draft pick in Nathan Shepard last season, but returned a lot of talented guys. How important is it for the defensive line to work as a unit this year? I mean,
Nate taught us so much, me personally as well, just because, you know, the work he put in really reflected, you know, on Saturdays. So we really just have to set the bar high and, you know, hit our standard every week.
Defensively, you guys were solid Saturday against Washburn and had to deal with multiple quarterbacks. How did the coaching staff have you prepared for that?
I mean, we're always running to the ball at practice, you know, conditioning, just going full speed. So, you know, if you work hard at practice all week, you get to a game, you've been doing it all week, so it's second nature.
And you guys were able to hold Washburn with less than a total of 100 rushing yards. What was the key to making that happen?
Just playing together. You know, everybody has a responsibility, all 11 guys on the field. Everybody does their job, then, you know, you can't, as an offense, if everybody does what they're supposed to do defensively, there's nothing you can really do against that.
And the team finished with 3 sacks, including 1.5 by you, and had 2 interceptions, including 1 by you. What was going through your mind when you saw the ball float up into the air right before your eyes?
You know, I was just like, you know, if I catch this ball, offense comes back on the field, we can finish this game off. You know, it was late in the 4th quarter, so, you know, just you see the ball in the air, it's kind of just like adrenaline from that point.
The defense spent a lot of time on the field the first 2 games, but against Washburn, the offense was able to maintain some longer drives. We'll talk about how important it is for those long drives and to let the defense rest a little bit and catch a break.
I mean, those long drives the offense puts together just amazing because, you know, we get to rest, we get to, you know, draw some stuff up on the sideline while they're playing, but also it gets them momentum, you know, and confidence, you know, throughout the whole game.
You've played in every game the last 3+ seasons here at FHSU. How have you seen your game improve during your 3 years here?
You know, I just feel like every game, you know, you learn something, you know, you take something away from the game. You know, the more experience you get, the more the game slows down. You notice more things. You know, you see more things on the field as they're happening. So definitely experience definitely helps that.
What is your major?
I am a human health and performance major.
So what are your plans after graduation?
I'm actually hoping to go into law enforcement. You know, I'm getting my 4-year degree, and then I'd love to go, you know, serve a community in which I find, you know.
Thanks for sitting with me.
Yeah, appreciate you.
When we return, we will be sitting with a player from Fort Hays Women's Soccer.
I think there's a perception out there that web and mobile application development is this field where you sit behind a computer all day and code. And that's not it at all, right? And there's even a perception out there that geek is bad. But I think students should embrace their inner geek. We don't code all day. We look at issues, we look at problems, and try to figure out the pieces of the puzzle and how to put them together to build things.
I was able to learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS, PHP, just kind of the whole 9 yards with that. So I really enjoyed the full program that they offered here.
Anything that you're interested in, the field of web and mobile application development, there's a value to. There's nothing like what we have in the informatics department. If you choose to take everything in the buffet that we offer, you'll be very well prepared for any type of job opportunity that's out there.
Welcome back to This Week in Tiger Athletics. Joining me now is Darby Hirsch, a junior forward from Topeka. Darby scored the game-winning goal Sunday in overtime against Nebraska Kearney, and it was her first goal this season. First off, congratulations on the win Sunday. It had to be nice to finally see an overtime game end in your advantage.
Yes, for sure. We've definitely gone to overtime a couple times this season, but it was nice to finally get the win and get that momentum going for us for this season.
It was the third straight overtime game you guys had played in. How important was it to keep battling in the wind and the heat to get that win over UNK?
It was definitely tough. In Hayes, you never know the kind of wind you're going to get for a game, but it was nice. Once we finally held them off that first half in the wind, we were able to go at them and really dominate the rest of the game, and it was just a matter of time before we got that goal to win.
Talk about the play in the pass from Kaylee Perkins that set up your game winner.
It was different. The girl just didn't see the ball. She kind of let it go out, and I just continued my run, and Kaylee got the awesome pass. It was just an easy touch in for me.
You had 4 shots on goal up to that point. Did you think it was just a matter of time before you found your way back from the net?
Yeah, for sure. I had several shots, but I'm glad the one went in.
You guys had to show a lot of perseverance and overcome some injuries to get you that win. Do you feel this team can really be dangerous once everyone is healthy?
Absolutely. We've definitely had to overcome some adversity with all the injuries. It's been a crazy season so far. But all the girls have stepped up to the plate whenever they've gotten their shot. And I think when we get some people back, and even the girls who are playing now, we can definitely be a dangerous team.
How have the injuries to so many players made the team adjust this year?
We've had a lot of the younger players step up. I mean, half of our team this year was new, which is crazy, and they've really done a great job of stepping up to the plate and doing the jobs that we need them to do.
The match was against a conference foe, but it doesn't count in MIAA play, and the same is with Friday's match at Washburn. How important is it to get some momentum going before beginning conference play Sunday at Emporia State?
It's always nice to get that winning streak going. I think it gave us a lot of confidence and that momentum to just keep on and play with a little more confidence as we go on.
How tough is the MIAA going to be this season, especially with the defending national champion in Central Missouri on your schedule?
Yeah, this was the first weekend that conference teams played each other, and so we kind of got to see how everyone stood up against each other. I think it's open to anything. There's not necessarily one dominating team. Of course, ECM won the national championship last year, which is crazy, but I think it's open, and we could definitely have a shot.
You guys started the season with 4 games on the road. How nice was it to actually be home at last?
It was so nice, especially with school. It was really nice just to be able to stay home and not be on the road and in hotels for several days out of the week.
And how about the home crowd? How nice is it to?
So fun. We've had a big crowd. It's been awesome. They've been so supportive of us.
What is going to be the key for the team with success moving forward?
I think just getting all of our new players ready for what the MIAA is going to have. It's a different type of competition than what they're seeing in high school. So really getting everyone up to par and being ready to compete, because everything's going to be a battle. How
has it been jumping from high school level to collegiate level in the D2?
Yeah, it's very different. I know it was an adjustment for me my freshman year, just the physicality, the battle, the pressure it puts on your body, and I think that's something that all of our new girls are going to have to adjust to.
Would the pressure it puts on your body, would that be the biggest adjustment you've had to make?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very physical game. Everything, you're always getting hit.
Yeah.
You have to be strong and take care of your body.
How has FHSU been instrumental in not only your soccer career, but in your education as well?
I've absolutely loved this school. I just started the nursing program this fall, so it's been busy, but it makes me really excited for the future, and I love this community, the crowd. You know, our teachers have been great and really understanding of nursing and soccer, and I'm excited for the journey ahead.
Thanks for joining me, Darby. When we return, we will break down the rest of the week in athletics.
Five, 4, 3, 2, take
take it from me.
The Tiger Media Network is Fort Hays State University's independent student media organization. It's a student employment opportunity where you can work for either the news side or the sports side. So you can be on live sports production, which produces all of the live sports broadcasts that we do, or you could be on the news side and do news stories covering things on campus, so presidential announcements, student government association. We bring that news to the student community and the Hays community as well.
You don't realize how much Fort Hays State has to offer until you're here.
I mean, it is definitely, this is the land of opportunity here.
I just got back from the ITA tournament in Kansas City a couple weeks ago where we worked with other production crews including Pitt State and Central Missouri. And it's a great time. I've gone there the last couple of years.
For me anyway, I get to do sports, which is what I love. And if live productions is where that's at.
This is the perfect place to do it. We have almost everything that you could possibly imagine.
Tiger Media Network allows you the opportunity to take the skills you've learned and put them forward in a real world, real application setting that allows you to flourish and grow as a professional, and that will only help you and benefit you when you graduate and go into the real world workforce.
To This Week in Tiger Athletics. Joining me now is FHSU SID Ryan Prickett, and we're going to break down this week and schedules. So the men's soccer traveled to Cali this weekend, and they drew a tie with Biola University on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a good to get at least out of that weekend with a tie. Now we did take a 1-0 lead in that match, and we were hoping to get out of the weekend out of California 1-1. You know, we dropped a tough match to Point Loma on, I believe that was Thursday night, and played that entire match scoreless all to about, I think, 2 minutes left, and then they finally got one in on us, which is frustrating because it's one of those games where you see us outplay the opponent. We had 21 shots compared to their 7, but in soccer, a lot of times that'll happen. You know, you're the better team on a given night, and then that one defensive breakdown, and all of a sudden you lose a 1-0 match. So, but it was good that they at least got the tie out of the match instead of taking another loss. And so now we're sitting at 3-2-1 overall, and now we're getting ready to go into conference play. So now is, you know, the time we've played our non-conference matches, tried to play opponents that'll help boost that strength of schedule for the regional, but now's go time as far as conference play and proving how you do within our own region and seeing if we can make that 7th straight trip to the NCAA tournament.
And they will be back in action on Friday to take on Southwest Baptist on the road.
Yes, and Southwest Baptist has been a school that has struggled in men's soccer for quite a few years in a row now. That's one of those matches you feel like you got to go win right out of the gate in MIAA play. And then the big doozy is going to come up on Sunday. We're going to play Northeastern State on the road, and that's right now they're number 8 in the nation. They're 5-0 overall, and that's going to be a huge match as far as the regional implications. Because right now, Lindenwood's kind of in the mix with us right now, just looking at the conference picture and how teams have played out of the gates. But if we can get head-to-head advantage on Northeastern State or Lindenwood, that's going to help us big time down the road for that NCAA regional bid, because only 2 teams from our region get to go to the NCAA tournament. So it's a tight field as far as trying to, you know, the teams that you got to beat to try and get in there. So that's going to be a big one.
And in women's soccer, we just spoke with Darby about her success and the team's success with the win over Nebraska Kearney. They will have their final non-conference match of the season, and it's slated for 6 p.m. Friday in Topeka against Washburn.
Yeah, and another one of those conference opponent, but it's a non-conference match, and it's kind of weird. It was part of that pod system, as I explained, I guess, last week on the show. But that's going to be another test to just try and boost our in-region resume, I guess, and then we get ready to jump into conference play there on Sunday against Emporia State. So Washburn has improved quite a bit over the last couple of years. there about 3 or 4 years ago. They were really struggling as a program, but they've seen an uptake in their program these last couple of years. So that's going to be a challenging match for our women, especially dealing with all the injury issues they've had to deal with here early in the season. We got a lot of freshmen out there on the field, but they've weathered that storm pretty nicely considering how everything's gone down. And the entire defensive back line is injured right now, at least the starting defensive back line. But these freshmen have stepped in and they've shown that, you know, we're ready to play. And we didn't really skip a beat too much this weekend, you know, getting the tie against Emporia State and then the 1-0 overtime win over Nebraska Kearney. So the defense was really, really good this week, despite the fact that we're missing a lot of our starters right now.
And to move on to volleyball, unfortunately, they were unable to secure their first MIAA win of the season as they lost to Emporia State in straight sets.
Yes, exactly. Obviously, we talked last week, they went over there to Washburn and then they played Emporia on Saturday. 3-0 losses in both matches. Our team did not play well at all, unfortunately. Just some rough hitting percentages for both matches. Going to have to clean up a lot of errors up there on the front line with the attackers. We're just committing way too many hitting errors and giving the other team just way too many points, and that makes for non-competitive sets. So if we can clean those things up and just compete at a higher level up there at the net and getting some consistency with the swings on the ball and stuff like that, you know, we'll be able to compete in conference play. But that was a rough opening to conference play, and I know Washburn, they were undefeated going into that. And you know, to talk about Washburn, how last week I said they were unranked but undefeated, and I couldn't believe that. Well, then they go and knock off Nebraska Kearney on Saturday, who's Nebraska Kearney's #1 in the nation. And so Washburn has proved that, you know, hey, we need to be up there in the top 25. So we'll probably see that here this week. They'll probably jump in. Kearney will probably slide down in the rankings a little bit, but Kearney's always a staple up in the top 10 in the national rankings. So. And
speaking of Kearney, that's who we play coming up. So that's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, talk about the meat grinder schedule right now. It's not an easy task this week. What's lying ahead of us? Obviously, we're going to Nebraska Kearney on Tuesday. And they're just coming off their first loss of the year. That was to Washburn. So yeah, they're #1 in the nation right now. By the time we play the match tomorrow night, I'll expect that number in front of them to be a little bit lower. But then, you know, we got our first home matches of the season coming up this weekend. So we're hoping that, you know, Tiger Nation will get out there and support our volleyball program at Gross Coliseum. Got a Friday night match against Pittsburgh State at 6 p.m. and then we'll face another nationally ranked opponent on Saturday in Central Oklahoma. And both those squads are out to really good starts. Pittsburgh's unranked. They've struggled in past years here, but we've seen a huge uptake in their overall record this year. They are 13-2 out of the gates right now, so big upturn for their volleyball program right there. And then Central Oklahoma has been in the national rankings pretty steady here the last few years, and last week they were at number 15 in the nation, and they're going to enter this week with a 14-2 record. So with us being 6-8, you know, we're still trying to find our footing in the MIAA, but it's going to be a tough grind of a schedule this week to see if we can get a win. So.
And women's tennis traveled to Colorado for 3 matches, and they ended the weekend with a 1-2 record.
Yeah, went out there. Looks like Colorado Mesa is a pretty strong team. We fell to them 7-0, but we were real competitive in the other matches that we played. Went out there and defeated CSU Pueblo, the host school of the tournament, over the weekend. We beat them by a score of 6-1. And then talking to Coach Flax here just a day ago about how things went, he was very pleased with how they competed against MSU Denver. He said if we could have just had a couple things go differently in that match in a couple of the key matchups, he said we were right there. It's just we unfortunately didn't, you know, get the points where we needed to, and fell in that match 4-2. They actually stopped the one match that was still going just because, well, the deciding point had already been, you know, made, and so they figured, well, there's no need in continuing to finish this match out that was still being played. So potentially it could have been a 4-3 loss, but instead it was 4-2, and they just decided to say the one match was unfinished. So.
And in 2 weeks, they will travel to OKC for the 2018 ITA Fall Central Regional, which will conclude their fall season.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where they all get to go down as individuals. Well, maybe not everybody, but I know Coach Flax will put in a healthy group of, entries into that field, and they do have a different bracket for different singles play. There's the higher level singles play, which like our number 1, 2, and 3 singles players a lot of times will get entered into that. And then they also have a bracket, which they kind of call their B bracket, for the people that play 4, 5, and 6 singles. So we'll see where we place our kids within the mix of that tournament when that comes here in a couple of weeks. But that's a good tournament to find out where you are individually amongst all some of the top players in the region, and just find out where you're at this point in the season, and how you're going to maybe fare when things come around in the spring, or just know what you got to work on to be at that level to defeat some of those other opponents. So.
Going on to men's sports now, 4 runners of the cross-country team found success at the Bronco Stampede this weekend, as all 4 finished in the top 10.
Yeah, that was a good showing for the handful of guys we took up there to that Hastings race. Michael Eisenbarth led the way for us. It was an 8K distance. He ran, it was a time a little bit over 27 minutes. But yeah, and they said that Mike was leading the race for pretty much the entire race all the way up to about the last kilometer. So unfortunately, a guy from Doane College got by him to win the race. But other than that, I mean, yeah, Robert Loeffler, Caleb Crum, Peter Franklin, they all finished within the top 10, so that was a good showing for those guys that we took up there to that race.
And last but not least, Tiger football was able to hold off Washburn this weekend. They beat the Ichabods 30-24 for another home win. Yeah,
it was a good answer to what had happened the previous week. We knew that we had to come out and you feel like you're almost kind of playing for your season a little bit in that matchup, because both teams are 1-1, and you want to get things going back in the positive direction. You still got that national ranking. You're still thinking about, hey, we want to defend our MIAA title, and to have that chance, there's not a lot of margin for error from here on out. So, now that we got the one loss on our resume already, I know the guys have to remain focused, and they got a big road ahead of them right now, and some tough opponents coming up yet that they're going to challenge that. And so it was a good showing to at least get that win. Obviously, things kind of went a little bit poorly towards the end of the game, where we had a penalty on defense that extended a drive for Washburn. They got a touchdown with about 6.5 minutes left. And then, unfortunately, the interception with about a minute left all of a sudden made that a way more uncomfortable score than what it looked like it was going to end up. I mean, that game very easily could have finished at 30-10, but it got a little bit uncomfortable there at the end. And that's the MIAA for you. You cannot take any plays off or anything like that, because all of a sudden in the snap of a finger you can be looking at a ball game, and we had to recover an onside kick to win that game. But it was awesome to see the fan followership out there as well. We had nearly 7,000 fans at that game the other night, so we expect homecoming to be a pretty big crowd here in 2 weeks when we take on Central Oklahoma. So
that's great. And they will travel to Joplin in search of their first road win of the season this Saturday as they face Missouri Southern.
Yeah, and Missouri Southern is a team that right now they're probably struggling the most of any MIAA school. They have struggled to put points on the board so far this year, and have lost some pretty lopsided matchups so far. They lost 45-0 to Nebraska Kearney, 51-13 to Lindenwood, and 63-0 to Northwest Missouri. So yeah, they're struggling right now, but the thing that you can't take for granted is a team gets 3-4 weeks under their belt. They start to figure a few things out. And you still got to show up and perform well. And, hopefully this will be a good test for our guys this week to maybe, feel like maybe that offense can finally get clicking on all cylinders the way we're hoping that it will, and hopefully the defense will continue to play at the high level that they have, and hopefully that'll be a win we can go down there, get that taken care of, and get back home 3-1. So, but we just saw that this week we're down to number 18 in the national rankings in the AFCA poll. We slipped one spot, which that's okay. We had a couple of schools that got by us. There were a couple of schools that knocked off top 10 opponents, and they're 3-0 each. So the poll writers decided to vault them up the standings a little bit more. So we're pretty much right where we were last week, and that's okay because we're 2-1, and we still have to prove some stuff yet if we're going to be part of that mix. So, but yeah, this is a good week to hopefully maybe get everything clicking on all cylinders and get a big head of confidence rolling into that homecoming game against Central Oklahoma here.
Thanks for joining me, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for watching This Week in Tiger Athletics. Tune in next week to stay up to date on the latest news and sports.